One of them wanted to be the security guy. He claimed he was a security guy.
Welcome to Security Guy Radio. So what's your name, sir?
John Gallagher.
And what do you do, John?
So I'm VP Marketing at Viakoo.
And what does Viakoo do?
So we're a SaaS-based company based in Mountain View, California. So
everybody's in Mountain View.
Sorry?
Everybody's in Mountain View or Canada.
Well,
that's what I find.
Our neighbors like Google and Microsoft
Yeah.
and LinkedIn and so forth, they create some good traffic going in the morning, but we like sharing space with them.
So what do you guys do?
So we make a SaaS solution, it's cloud-based, and what we basically do is for people who have large-scale security video networks, IP-based networks, we're acting as an agent on their network, constantly reviewing how everything's working. We never look at the video content itself, but we're actually looking at all the mechanisms that allow that video stream to travel through the network, and including from the origin in the camera, through the VMS, through the switches, routers, servers, etc., all the way onto the storage. So at the beginning part, we can tell you if your camera's down, we can tell you if the stream is not recording.
Right.
And
put this a little closer, maybe, just to be...
Yeah, to me, one of the more interesting applications is we'll also look at things like, did the video get stored on the storage plane and in the retention period get tampered with?
That's
right,
valuable,
which is kind of a cool thing. So we're looking at all of the elements of the network, making sure that everything's going properly, and our real goal is to give people quality of service, right? Measurable metrics of how their network is behaving, and whether it's stability, for ongoing operations, whether it's performance, or simply the basic one, which we're most concerned about, which is uptime. Right? We want to make sure that people's networks are recording as they need to be. And that's really the thing which, for me, relatively new to the security industry. Right, I've been at Viakoo about 5 months now.
5 months?
Yeah. And in talking
Viakoo's not been around 5 months.
No, Viakoo's been around for a couple of years.
Yeah.
We were in development mode for the first year. We went into beta testing. Our first production release was in May of last year.
Oh, really?
So we're still less than a year of actually full production.
Okay, so back in the day, I worked for Fox and Disney.
Yeah.
And we had companies that would come in and take all that email you had and put it in some kind of database that you could do something with, right?
Yeah.
And what did they call it? It was like we could do our own web servers. We had our own mail servers, but there was so much data we couldn't figure it out, right?
Yeah.
And we kind of off-sourced it.
E-discovery is actually a broad area of that.
Yeah.
Like legal documents, right? Where people need to do it for discovery.
But we were very reluctant to let somebody else on our network. So how do you get around that now? Is it a necessity? People just said, you know what, there's just too much of this stuff.
Yep.
We can't handle it. We're going to let you in. And you're telling me you're not looking at my video? But as a security guy, I'm saying, I'm going to verify.
Look, we think that every security professional should be as religious as possible about guarding any dangers to their network, right? In fact, one of the most popular pieces of content that we put out, about 2 months ago we put it on our website, we've gotten over 2,000 downloads of it, is our Securing the Security Network checklist, right? It's all the things that we've observed as video experts of what people should be doing to their video network to make sure that the hackers don't get in. We are very InfoSec compliant in how we developed our product and how we implement it in the customer's network. 2 examples. One is that our connectivity, we require an internet connection, but our traffic is only outbound.
You're only monitoring outbound things?
No. I'm sorry. Our agent on the customer's network can only send data out to our cloud. We can't send anything back into the network. So there is no way for malware or any other agent, any malicious efforts to be done through our agent into the customer's network. So that's one way that we make sure that what we do is completely, benign when it comes to InfoSec. The other thing, which is really a key part of it, is that as people, implement us on the network, the data that we're generating for them about how their health is often finds issues that they didn't know were lurking in that network.
Well, that's the other reason corporations are reluctant to get into this, because it's one thing to do discovery and say, all right, take all the dirty pictures of the VP's computer. Oh, no, now I found all this other stuff. And then it turns into a big pile of goo, right?
Yep, exactly.
So if you're only monitoring the outbound stuff, I guess it saves them some headaches and problems.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but again, let me be clear. We're not looking at outbound traffic. We're actually looking at the traffic across the network. But our connection, right, what we link into our cloud service is only one way.
Okay.
So we take the data that we gather on that network, put it into the cloud, and over time, what that does for the user is it gives our customers a rich database of how their networks behaved over a long period of time, and we give them the tools and visualizations so that if they saw something happening, they can correlate it in that same time period to other things going
Now,
on.
old school used to be the Microsoft Windows NT log.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I can't tell you how many investigations I did where the IT guy comes in and says, we got a problem. Okay, what's the problem? Well, we were hacked, there's a denial of service attack, and we had a denial of service attack in May of 2002. Some guy got pissed off that we were playing NASCAR instead of the baseball game, so we sent out a distributed denial of service attack, 450,000 emails, and shut down our entire email servers nationwide, right? He was a vice president of an IP company in Boston, so he knew what he was doing, right?
Sure.
And the Secret Service can come in with a certain form and say, guess what? We're taking all your computers. It's not a warrant. It's just part of that federal law about...
Patriot Act, maybe?
No. This is way before the Patriot
okay.
Act. This is, they call it wiretapping, but really that also now means the network, okay? And, it was a problem, right? So the problem with that case was that the guy knew what he was doing. Our IT guys didn't know what they were doing. Because I said, let me see your log. Well, we didn't turn it on. Why didn't you turn your log on? Well, because, it takes up a lot of space. You can't go down and get a couple iOmega drives, because that's what it was, right?
Yep.
And just stick them up. Well, it takes a lot of extra work and stuff. And so we found in an audit of all our servers that NT switch on, NT switch off, data log off, data log off. All right, so what I'm hearing is you are replacing the bonehead IT guys, right? Because and you're doing the job right, which they should be doing in the first place as administrators.
Yep.
Right?
We would never use those terms.
I can. I have my own radio show.
However,
I have a stronger term for them, too.
You, two things you just said, which I really want to emphasize. We are exactly at that intersection of physical security and IT.
Right.
We really help both of those teams communicate with each other.
And they have to communicate.
Absolutely, more so than ever before.
So what do you think about this trend in the industry? It used to be that the word security was owned by my people.
Yes.
Guards, cops, bodyguards, that meant security. It meant brute force protection, right? Now, if you Google security, what does it mean? It's all IT.
Cyber.
It means IT.
Sure.
Hiring for the director of security, and I applied for the job, and I got to have a master's degree in Microsoft, and I go, that's not who you're hiring, right?
Right. Cisco certified network, yeah.
That's right. And the problem is, those guys don't know jack about physical security. And physical security is about people.
Yep.
And if you're an analytic, you're not warm and fuzzy about people, and you can't get Diana to do something you want because you're just going to tell her to do it and she's going to cry, right? So that's a big problem. That's a huge weakness in our system right now, and I'm glad to see a company like you is out there filling that gap because it has a problem. And people aren't recognizing it. And the reason is the IT guy can never recognize that as a problem because he's the guy sitting in the space.
Yeah.
He's not going to say, we need a cop that goes around saying, hey, what are you doing over there?
Yep.
What are you doing over there? And that's how you solve cases. Just be nosy, right?
Yeah.
So your software's nosy.
Yeah, very
That's a
much
good way to
so.
describe it, right?
Very much so. And, again, that point of where we are in time right now, you're right. There's a lot of discussion around convergence, but they are so different. And functionally, they are both so unique.
They are.
That you can't just replace one with the other or change titles. There has to be an evolution that happens. I mean, one of the announcements that we made here at ISC West that I'm really, very happy with and where we're headed with this. So there's an organization called the Lightship Group that we've joined. It includes some of our customers, and it also has a number of other people, such as, we've got our friends at SanDisk, End-to-End Secure, who's leading it from a A&E sort of perspective. But we're bringing together a group of different minds, some of us software people like us, or Identiv, who's also here at the show, representing physical access control, combined with companies like Cadence, Juniper Networks, SanDisk, End-to-End Secure, as I mentioned. And the goal of it, the Lightship Group, is really to provide best practices, guidance, recommendations. And the fact that you've got companies that, at least in Silicon Valley, tend to compete a little bit with each other, at least on the talent pool side, they've recognized that this is an issue that we have to solve as an industry.
They're going to cooperate together.
They're going to cooperate together. All those competitive barriers start to melt away when they realize the significance of actually getting to that next phase of evolution.
Hold that thought. I'm going to take a real quick break and I'll be back in a minute on
Sounds
Security
great.
All right, we're back with Security Guy Radio. All right, we're talking about
best practices,
Best
guidance.
practices.
You know, we are going through, I like to call it a heart transplant, you know, just to wake people up a little bit. You know, that when we've moved as an industry from analog to IP-based systems.
that was a big shift.
Big shift, and it's still going on.
And I know some people are still holding on to tapes. It's
Oh,
unbelievable.
a factoid that I came across that I'm, again, just a little surprised at. So last year, 2014, was the first year that IP-based cameras outsold analog cameras.
The first year was
First year,
2014?
2014. And
that doesn't make any sense.
I was as shocked as you are, but it's
Outsold. We're not talking about replaced. We're saying
outsold. Pure
people are
sales.
still buying analog cameras.
People are still buying
Why?
analog cameras.
That's bizarre.
Well, part of it is safety of knowing what you're going to do. And the unknown of IP-based flows right now really has a lot of people concerned. Because, you know, as you put in a new, again, it's a heart transplant, and you need to make sure that nothing fails. That heart can't miss a beat. I mean, that's the critical nature of
Right.
security, right? So the fact that we've moved functionally in a major way to a new paradigm, a new technology platform, guess what? Gaps have occurred, right? Some things have lagged in terms of the capabilities. And really, that's our goal as a company, is to fill those gaps. And with the Lightship Group providing guidance, other companies contributing information, there's a lot of initiatives that I'm hearing about just here at ISC West that are really interesting because they are going to, again, move the industry forward. I personally think that gap is going to close in the next couple of years.
Well, I hate to disagree with you on that one. I think it's going to get worse before it gets better, and here's why. So the bank industry had, bankers. A banker was a profession, a teller was a profession. It wasn't the greatest thing in the world, but it was okay, right?
Yeah.
Now, ATMs have replaced most tellers. And I won't go to a bank unless I have to. And most tellers you go talk to couldn't make change,
Sure.
If you gave them $1 and said, give me a penny bag, they wouldn't know what to do, right? It's a different employee now, right? IT's the same thing. So I grew up on DOS. When I bought my first computer, it was 2 floppy drives, an 8086 processor, and I brought it to the police station one day, and I said, watch, I can count from 1 to 1,000,000. And we sat there for 15 minutes and watched it. But 15 minutes is longer than you and I taking 60 years to count to 1,000,000, okay?
Yeah.
It was like amazing, right?
Right.
Whoa, 15 minutes to count to 1,000,000. And then I got my first hard drive, and that was $1,000, and it was 20 megabytes. 20 megabytes, I get DOS, I get it,
Yeah.
right? And as I grew up in my career, I'd meet an IT guy, and he's 20-something, and I'm 40-something. And I say, well, the DOS prompt, what do you mean DOS? We don't use DOS. I said, well, if you don't know what DOS prompt is, you don't know how the system was built. And so you got people that are coming into the profession, the new tellers, that are, I'm a desktop IT guy. What, did you read the freaking help button on Windows? And that's what, I can do that. Tell me how the thing works. They can't tell you how it works.
Yeah.
They don't know what it's based on ones and zeros. They don't know
Yeah.
how a computer was invented. And that's why we have the gaps, because they don't call a security guy a physical guy and says, you think this is all cybersecurity. Somebody still has to sit down and do this.
Yeah.
That's physical security.
Yeah.
And they can't integrate that in their head and get it straight. They think they own it, and they think people like me are idiots. I am an idiot. By chance, it just happens to be that I am. But other people like me are idiots, and they don't allow the conversation to go forward.
Yeah.
So I would sit in these high IT meetings and say, did you ever think about this? And they go, oh, no, we never thought about that. Because I'm thinking at a different perspective.
Yeah.
So that's why I think it's going to get worse. Now, you seem to be a hybrid.
I am an optimist just by nature, right? But
Are you from Canada?
No.
Well, you seem like you're Canada, because there are very optimistic people over there, and they make really good products. But I'm not a pessimist, but I'm practical, and I know human nature, right?
Yeah.
And people say, we're going to fix this. And what did Einstein say? Problems can't be fixed by the people that created them. It's mathematically impossible.
Okay.
So if you're the IT guy that screwed it up,
Yeah.
why in the world am I having a conversation with you? But the decision maker,
Yeah.
who's over here, who's the CEO,
Yeah.
he's not a computer guy.
Yeah.
And that scares him. So I don't want to touch that computer stuff. You just go handle that, CIO, right? Instead of saying, you screwed it up, you got to go, we got to get somebody else in here and fix it. This is what I'm worried about.
Yeah.
All right?
But here's where I think there's again, I'm going to remain on the optimistic side of this, which is that There is a silent revolution that is happening right now, right? We internally...
Yes, it's called China hacking us. That's
No,
what it's called.
no.
Okay.
We internally talk about who our customer is, and we talk about them as VNAs, right? Video Network Administrators. Now, there is no such person in the industry with that title today, but that function is being carved out in organizations, and we're seeing it emerge. And that's why my prediction is go 2 to 3 years out, you're going to start seeing people with that title. Just like IT within the organization over the last 20 years or so, you went from, I'm an IT guy,
Right.
to I am a specialization within IT, and we believe that this is going to yet again become another specialization within the IT structure.
I hope
Because
so.
it is a unique skill set. That's the one thing which I think we both deeply agree on, is that,
Here's what cracks me up.
you're not going to have an average IT person come in and be a security guy. There are different skill sets and different tools.
And they're different brains.
approaches,
They just
different
think differently.
brains.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some like me think, cross around, do
Yeah.
different things.
But
But,
the-
I
but
don't
the-
claim to know IT, but I claim to know what it can do.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So when people
Yep.
come in an IT project and say, that can't be done, I say, no, you don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
That's not the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? So they're two different disciplines that you have to come up with.
Here's another angle to it, right? What we're seeing is that some of these issues, and I could point to a number of anecdotes, some of them probably I shouldn't share in public, right? But these are board level risk issues for large organizations, truly, right? And so we are talking to people at the board level who are trying to, as quickly as humanly possible, control their risk exposure. Because when they realize,
that's good to know.
they realize, as many of them are now starting to, that IP-based video network only operates 70% of the time, 80%, 90%. It's very rarely that they truly are at 100%. I get a Google alert almost every day because I search on the phrase "no video evidence."
Well,
right?
that's a good one, all right.
Right? And I get news stories almost every day. Right? It shows that there is a true problem out there, that people are not getting the video uptime. Otherwise, you wouldn't see it appear in news stories.
So
and that board level issue is driving, again, I'm going to call it a silent revolution of the need to start readdressing who's taking care of this problem. Are you equipped properly? Do you have the right specialization? I know one company that just recently, they went through major reorgs as a new CEO came in. The last one that he did is he said, hey, security and IT, you guys are always at war with each other. Guess what? You're now one team.
That's what it has to be.
It has
right?
to be. So it's getting there.
So here's what cracks me up. Apple came out with the cloud, and I'm on the cloud, we're on the cloud. That's called hierarchy storage management.
Mm-hmm.
That was a room of computers, 100 hours long. That's the only way you had a computer, because you had a dumb terminal, and that is how we had data transferred. And
Yes.
now it's called the cloud, and it's amazing. It pisses me off because people think it's new. It's not new. It's
Sure.
old school. And why do we get away from that in the first place? Because it really wasn't the best way for security to make something work. So we went back to local storage, which is harder for me to get on my computer. If I turn my computer off and unplug it and lock it in my desk, China's not getting in there.
Yep.
But if I keep everything in the storage room, in the data center,
Yeah.
I can get in there, see?
Yeah.
So I think one of the solutions is let's get off that cloud because, by the way, we're running out of storage. I think storage capacity is going to exceed creation. For God's sake, I'm a polluter at ISC West with all my stupid Twitters and postings, and it's useless
High
nonsense.
definition
But
cameras.
but it's going in the cloud. It has to be stored somewhere, right? So I think that's going to be a challenge. And if somebody who's a bad guy figures out that storage is the issue and compromises that or exploits that, then when you think everything's going across a network and getting stored somewhere and it's really not, or it's getting erased or whatever, I think that's a problem too. So I think in terms of
checks and balances.
worst case scenario and coming from a different way, and it just infuriates me when people say, oh, the cloud's great. Well, what did we get rid of for 25 years ago? Why did we, by the way? What do you think?
Well,
It
okay.
seems like a good idea, but really, do you really want your nasty grams up on somebody's server, or do I want it on my good old-fashioned hard drive right here?
Right. Time shared computing, way back when, here we are today, right?
Yeah.
You can buy compute power off of Amazon or whoever and configure whatever you need resource-wise. You can configure desktops across the
But
cloud.
when in an intellectual property environment, if I had a dumb terminal, that meant I could not print that intellectual property script and steal it because it's sitting over there in the data storage center and it's a dumb terminal and we're safe.
But I'm going to come back to what I'll call basic principles, right? Checks and balances, right? You have to have systems in place. And there are, again, I'm going to say maybe it's not perfect and maybe we need further evolution, right? But you have now in terms of cloud data centers, you've got SOC2, you've got SSAE 16 as certified standards, right? You've got the accounting bodies
Right.
that have standards by which data centers are judged by how well they're secured.
But Target's got my social security number now, and it's out in somebody's computer.
Exactly.
All that
Well,
standardization still means that my
but now we're
data
coming
got
back to
compromised.
the problems that Viakoo's solving, right? Which is that these hacks, these gaps, are occurring at the edge of the networks, right? The Target breach happened through the HVAC system.
Okay.
It would not surprise me. In fact, there's a few pointers that various other flaws have happened, coming through the security video system as well. Right? You had this Carbonac-based, it's a malware agent that allowed roughly $1 billion to be heisted from banks a few months ago.
Interesting.
Right? I think a truly undertold story. And those people injected agents into the network so as to control video cameras so that they could observe the workers inside the banks, understand their protocols, understand their timing.
All right, so you're
They know
saying we
that-
are really in the matrix. Right now, this second we're in the matrix. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, well, no.
Could be. I don't know.
We could be, but
Okay, so here's
but
my
checks
argument.
and balances are maybe not as good as they need to be, but the
You know why?
structure for
Here's
building
why.
it is there.
Because your IT guy is not thinking that getting into the HVAC system on the edge of the network
Mm-hmm.
is like I think about it. The burglar crawls in on the spy movies. He crawls in from the HVAC system and comes into the building, right?
Yeah.
I view the network edge physically. I visualize it physically.
Yeah.
And an IT guy tends to visualize it as well. I'm just going to put a code there and block it. I can find more holes in the system because I'm thinking of it in a physical world, and an IT guy's thinking in a virtual world. To me, a hole in the network is a hole.
Yes.
It's a virtual hole, but it's still a hole, see? So I get what you're saying. I think
Yeah.
it's important. If you're telling me people are thinking about that, then I'm less depressed.
Yeah. No.
I'm still not completely
Again, I'm
depressed, but-
going to point back to the fact that we had over 2,000 people download a securing the security network checklist, and it included all those things about glue over the
You think
US.
that's a good thing, by the way?
I think it's a great thing.
It
Because
also means that 2,000 people are idiots.
no. It means that
He's
2,000.
so happy, this guy. He's so positive. It's unbelievable. All right, I'll take it.
No, because as I talk to people in this industry, some of them say, "Hey, we are already there on points 1 through 10, but
Yeah.
numbers 11 and 12 really made us think."
Well,
and
no,
we've changed what
it
we're
does
doing
take
because of
brainstorming,
it.
right?
It does take It takes collaboration. It takes putting ideas out there.
So we had a guy at Fox that he was a VP, and he decided it'd be a good idea to put 750 megabytes, which was a lot back then, almost a gigabyte, of bestiality porn on his personal computer, because he was going to start a website, right? And the IT guy says, "Well, we can't prove it's him." What do you mean we can't prove it's him? Somebody could have come in and they could have put it on his computer. All right. Not a bad argument from an IT point of view, right?
Sure.
So what I had to do was I got the video, I got the access control
There you
record, I got the gate arm coming up with his lead, I got a camera coming in his office, I got him. So what we did is we took that, wrote it in HTML, and as you click through this, you could see he walks in the door, scans it, then he sits down and calls his mother and logs in on the computer at the same time while he's talking to his mother on the phone. And when we put that to him, presented that data, that was it. I don't want to go to court on this.
He gave
I
in.
bet you don't want to go to court on that. But the IT guy could not figure it out. He called me to figure it out. Right? Now, had I not known about computers, I might not have been able to figure it out.
Yeah.
So it's the same kind of thing. If 2,000 people are saying, I didn't think about number 10 to 12, I'm thinking, oh, you should have maybe. But I do like what you're doing. I think this is important. I didn't realize it's that big a problem, really.
Well, the other thing is, I mean, look, 2,000 is a drop in the bucket of security professionals. Maybe the
Well,
good
that's
news.
even more depressing. That's
maybe
right.
the good news. No, but maybe the good news here is that the other 80,000 plus didn't need this. They're already there, right?
Well, there's just so many hacks
So-
now, and it just keeps coming more and more. You hear about more.
And it will continue to.
And the Target one, to me, is more of a physical problem because whoever didn't secure the data center and who didn't look at this and check that, they should be doing those checks too, right?
Yeah.
All right. So how cutting edge is this technology?
I think it's,
Anybody else doing it?
no, actually, one of the things that
So you
makes
have a
us unique.
process and software. Which
We
is,
have a process, we have software,
Yeah.
we have patents, we have a direction, which I think is very unique. And like anybody who's building a business, you do look to see, can you secure a competitive barrier,
Yeah.
right? And I think the combination of time advantage that we have, right? We're 2 years into this. That's not easy to catch up in certain learning that we've done over time.
is it easy to sell?
It's not, actually. I'll be very blunt about that.
Oh,
It's
really?
not.
Why?
Because,
What's
because
your
just like the
resistance?
dialogue we're having here right now, right? It's that we're in this intersection of physical security and IT. And a lot of people are reluctant to go there just yet, or to.
All right.
So what we find is that our customers tend to be a little ahead of the curve, right? They do tend to be people who have a tremendous risk profile. So again, that's why people like, SanDisk or major hospitals like Nationwide Children's Hospital or, University of Pennsylvania or Drexel University in major urban areas like Philadelphia, those sorts of institutions have turned to Viakoo because they've realized the institutional risk of having downtime is just too great.
Well, that time is money. That's true, too.
Yeah.
That's a good sell. Forget that you think you won't get hacked.
Yeah.
If it's a minor attack, you're losing man hours.
Yeah.
And that's a hard dollar cost.
But I'll tell you, the worst situations that I come across and the ones that I realize we haven't even scraped the surface of who should be using our product, it's when I read stories. Local story in the Bay Area. I won't go into details, but there was a woman named Lynn Spalding who went to a hospital in San Francisco. She had a urinary infection. And she went in, and they had marked on her chart, hey, this woman needs to be observed. She's on, I guess, high-powered medications, and she's a little wacky and doesn't necessarily know where she is. She might be a wanderer. You need to check on her on a regular basis. So, of course, she goes missing.
Oh.
And she's missing, really missing. They can't find her. 3 weeks go by. And then finally, this is the horrible part, right? They find her dead in the stairwell.
The stairwell. 3 weeks.
So she was in the hospital the entire time. And it took me a while for it to sink in that hospitals have regulatory requirements for video surveillance.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Regulatory
I know
and strict,
that.
right?
Yeah, very strict.
And very clear cut. The San Francisco Sheriff's Department is responsible for video surveillance in all of the public hospitals. There's 12 of them in San Francisco, including San Francisco General. The fact that this woman went missing and they couldn't, on a moment's notice, bring up the video feeds, see what direction she was heading.
By the way?
It's never been publicly talked about. The first press conference...
Another scoop on Security Guy
Radio.
Radio.
You heard it here first.
Unbelievable.
The first press conference the sheriff did, he made some mention to a failure in the video security environment. Ever since then, it's been clamped down.
I'm going to do some research on that. That'd be a good show.
Please research that, because that Lynn Spalding case, honestly, deeply troubles me, because as I look at the mission-critical nature, whether it's public defense, whether it's chain of custody, making sure that is tracked and you've got a clean chain of custody on things, whether it's retention compliance. I mean, we are detecting, and I can't say it's a big issue, but we do find these problems where people are going in after the video's been stored, but it's still in the retention compliance period.
Right.
And somebody's gone in because that person knew that they did something and they don't want it to be on the hard disk someplace.
Yeah.
They go in and they remove it. We detect that problem, right? So that's the thing. Over time, we are building up a environment where we're coming across people. We say, hey, have you ever had this problem? Oh, my God, yes. Do you solve it? We get that person as a customer pretty quick. So the more of such examples...
I'm surprised that... First of all, I think this is a great product, all right? I'm equally surprised that you have to go in and do what the IT guy should be doing in the first place. I think it's a great thing, but I'm just saying, to me, I'm surprised by it.
Yeah.
That we've gotten so far away from basics. I mean, hey, if you want to design security for any website or network, you don't build it and then stick a password on top of it. It's got to be down in the base. It's got to be in your BIOS. It's got to be...
Absolutely.
But they don't do that. Let's put a password. We're all done. I don't know. I don't get it.
But maybe the food fight going on between physical security and IT within corporations the past few years has led to where we are, right?
Yeah.
And I think people have woken up to it. And again, it's becoming a board-level issue. So whether it's imposed from the top down or from below, it's sorted out to just improve quality of service for the organization, change is happening. I just feel like there may have been some time that was wasted in not really addressing these issues as directly.
Oh, I think there was. And what I'm afraid of is there's some Trojan horse sitting there waiting for somebody to turn it on 5 years from now. Or that's, it's possible, right?
Yeah, that's true.
John, this has been a really good conversation.
Chuck,
I want you to come and do this again. Can you call into our Burbank studio and do another show?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Happy to.
I think this is one of the most significant problems we face in security for everybody.
Yeah.
Right? And the way you've explained it is easy to understand, and maybe this will get the word out to some other people listening saying, you know what, I better Better turn on that MT log and see what's going on and see if everything's
They
recording.
can always go to Viakoo.com and check us out.
That's what I'm saying. We should
Yeah,
do
they
that.
can get
yeah.
demo accounts. Yeah, it's very easy. Again, being a SaaS-based, cloud-based solution, it's easy for people to check it out.
What's a ballpark cost? Is it licensing per user, licensing per network, or?
It depends. Let me.
You don't tell me the cost, but I mean, how is it structured for?
Oh yeah, so we charge on a per stream basis, right? Per video stream, so it's scalable.
Oh, per stream, okay.
Yeah,
Now, if I have 200 cameras, I have 200 charges.
Yeah,
All
200
right.
streams, but we'll bundle it together.
Right.
And obviously, there's tiered pricing, and there's other ways that we work with people. So it turns out to be a very affordable solution for people. Again, I mean, compared to the other costs
Oh, the
that
lost
organizations.
costs. Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, no, I mean that, and that's not even a fair comparison. You know what I mean? That's, call it theoretical. I mean, even the direct cost compared against other parts of the video environment that they're bringing in.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think of the ROI assumption that people make, when City of Philadelphia, this is an example on our website, it's a blog, you can actually download from our blog the auditor's report from City of Philadelphia that talks about this. They put $15 million roughly of taxpayer dollars into a video surveillance system deployed in the streets of Philadelphia. They get a new sheriff in town, so to speak, and somebody asked him at a town hall meeting, well, our dollars were spent on this, how's it working? And he said, I don't know, but I'll find out. And I'll let you know. So he commissions an audit report. The audit report says, hey, only about a third of the cameras are working.
A third.
A third. 30% uptime. 30%, success rate on this.
I think if you walk by the monitors, you might say, wait a minute, that's dark.
Yeah.
But your network would detect real-time
Absolutely.
malfunction.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
have them fix things.
Yeah.
Why were they broken, by the way? What was wrong with them? Just
Variety
general
of
wear and
issues.
tear?
Variety of issues, and that's the other
All right.
thing is there's a whole bell-shaped curve of various reasons why these things fail. Very often, again, it's not the camera. It's elsewhere in the network.
It's
just
installed.
you
Okay,
need
yeah.
to-
Bandwidth, installation, whatever, yeah.
Exactly.
Hardware, yeah.
Exactly. So at the end of the day, people like Philadelphia that are analyzing this, questioning it, they're positioning themselves to, again, move to a better place. And that ROI assumption, again, Philadelphia said, hey, we're putting $15 million of investment, and if it's only working 30% of the time,
That's a terrible
right?
return. Yeah.
Then your real cost is whatever 3x, or your ROI is 1/3 of what you expected it to be, or 2/3 less than what you expected it to be. These are real numbers. These are real dollars, and if you pay $15 million for a system, you expect it to work 100% of the time.
Oh, yeah. 99 at least.
Yeah. So that whole ROI argument, I think, is also another driver behind why people see us as good value. The per stream pricing, you accumulate however many streams you need, lock down the ones that maybe are the most critical ones. People stage things or scale things depending on their own needs. That's why, again, flexibility of a good cloud-based solution, allows that. But ultimately, I think people are judging the value based on how much they're spending, how much their true return is on that investment, and how do they improve that ROI.
Viakoo.com.
Viakoo.com.
Viakoo.
Yes.
It sounds like an easy name to remember.
Sounds like an animal in some strange planet
Does
or
it
something.
stand for something? Is it an acronym?
No, it isn't actually. I just
Just kind of made it up?
just kind of made it up. Sounds
It
good.
sounds like a Martian chicken. Viakoo or something.
Exactly.
It's catchy. All right, John. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks again,
All
Chuck.
right.